I wish we could have an energy system without any fossil fuels in it today, but sadly that's just not possible. And when we think about the future of gas, I think gas will be a substantial part of the energy mix for a long time, for several decades to come yet. And there are two reasons for that, two fundamental drivers. The first one is, if you believe as we do, that the power sector will have to grow a lot, be 3 or 4 times bigger within the foreseeable future than what it is today. And that growth in power has to be low carbon, right? Then it's logical that a lot of that growth will have to come from renewables. And to have such an unprecedented increase in renewables as a percentage of your global power grid, you need the system balancing and the backup capability that you can today only get from gas. Now, in time, batteries will play a bigger role in that, but not to the extent that it will displace gas as the ultimate bringer of resilience in your power system and the backup capability that is needed. So the short version of the first reason is, for us to have a chance to meet the aims of the Paris Agreement, you need gas to enable a very deep penetration of renewables in the power mix. The second reason we think gas is a long-term participant in the energy mix is there are sectors that are very hard to decarbonize. And if you just take marine as an example, the shipping industry, the best thing you can do today in the marine industry is to replace liquid fuels with gas. You get a substantial reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and you almost eliminate nitrogen and sulfur oxides. That's a big gain, that's a big step forward. It's not complete decarbonization, but it's the best thing we can do today. And until we have something better, we should do the best thing that we can do today. And at some point, hopefully, completely sustainable hydrogen would be available, and that would be the ultimate way to decarbonize the marine industry, but also the 80% of the global energy system that today isn't electrified. And even in the long run, we think that probably up to half of the energy system will need something other than an electron to feed it. We cannot wait another few decades before we start improving this 80% of the energy system's emissions profile. That's a really important question because gas still struggles with broad societal acceptance, right? And we have this debate about whether gas should be in the energy mix in 2050 or in 2070. And that's an incredibly interesting debate, but it's actually not what we should be talking about today. Because I often say that what will happen to our climate by 2070 is not a function of how much we will be emitting by 2070, but it's a function of how much greenhouse gas we would be emitting between today and 2070. And therefore, the real thing we should be talking about is how do we bend the global emissions curve of all greenhouse gases down this year, next year, in the next 3 to 5 years, because of the importance of cumulative emissions in the bigger scheme of things. And there, gas has such an important contribution to make, right? And we cannot credibly see a path that starts today and that achieves the aims of the Paris Agreement without this role of gas, especially in the foreseeable future. But the industry has an image problem, I absolutely grant you that. And I think for us to address that image problem, we need to do two things. One is the industry really has to clean up its act. Methane emissions, we need to be very, very sharp on methane emissions and eliminating that to the maximum extent possible. And then secondly, making this entirely credible case about the way gas can help bend down the emissions curve over the foreseeable future. The world of gas is huge, right? It's from exploration all the way to to the burner tip. It straddles the globe, and every year we add hundreds of new participants to the world of gas. And so we need a meeting place, and we need a meeting place where the entire industry, both commercial and technical, but also the regulatory folks involved in our industry, can get together. We can have honest debates, frank debates, where we can talk about our challenges, our image problem, but we can also talk about opportunities, learn about new technologies that can help us keep the cost down and lower our emissions footprint. And Gastech is a fantastic meeting platform. It's one of these places where the globe gets together, and it's great that it's here in Houston as well. Because just as this country makes a lot of political weather, it's been making a lot of energy industry weather as well in the last couple of decades. So much innovation and change in the industry has come out of Houston and the USA, so I think it's absolutely fitting that we're here today.